And greetings, everyone. This is Terry, naturally, with another edition of Terry Talks Nutrition. We're here every Saturday and Sunday morning, 8 o'clock until 9 o'clock Central Standard Time. So you can join us for 2 hours a week of how we can get healthier, have more vitality, and maybe make some changes in our lifestyle to prevent disease and maybe reverse the challenges we have today. So today we're going to talk about a variety of topics that can improve the quality of our life. We'll talk about an herb that we have touched on in the past, but we haven't spent a lot of time. We've talked a lot about curcumin and grapeseed extract, two of my favorites. Here's a third favorite called Boswellia. It's spelled B like in boy, O-S like Sam, W-E-L-L-I-A, Boswellia. It has many benefits, but today we're going to concentrate on how Boswellia can be used for the upper respiratory tract health and how it can improve the illnesses of the upper respiratory tract. We'll talk about why getting dirty may help you stay healthy. We'll talk about the chemicals in food and how to pump up your heart with polyphenols. And we'll talk about the dangers of the water you drink. We have a lot more to talk about, and I'm sure we will not get through all these topics, but we have lots of time, and we're not going anywhere. We're going to be here. But like always, if you want more information, go to terrytalksnutrition.com. There we archive all of our past radio shows. We archive all of our past newsletters. We send out a newsletter every Friday on a given topic. You can subscribe to our newsletter on our website. And we archive all the past newsletters so that you may find more reason to be healthy. So if you have to leave us early today, this show will be on the archive section in about a week. And they're all posted there. And you can always find them on YouTube. You can follow us on Facebook. You can also find our webinars and our videos posted on YouTube as well. So there's always good information out there that you can take into consideration for yourself. So these are some of the topics that we're going to be talking about today, and to make sure that you have all this information to become healthier. Our whole passion is to share information to allow you to make better choices to be healthy. So let's start with Boswellia. Boswellia. It's a tree, and it's native to India, Northern Africa, and the Arabian Peninsula. The Boswellia family contains over 20 different species of the tree, but it's a medicine that has a tremendous benefit for a variety of reasons. And we'll talk about the medicinal value, but first of all, I want to give you a little bit of background on how it's harvested. Actually, it's a gum, a resin, or you could call it a sap. It's derived from scraping the bark of the tree. They slash the tree with knives, not harming the tree, but when they slash the bark of the tree, it's milking it, something like tapping a maple tree. They bore a hole in the maple tree, they collect the sap, and then they boil down the sap and they make maple syrup. This is very similar to it, but they don't bore a hole in the tree. They slash the outside portion of the tree with a sharp instrument. The tree weeps And this weeping is called the tears of India. And it's made into essential oils and also into Boswellia extract. The essential oil is called frankincense. Frankincense was one of the gifts given to the Christ child at its birth. The essential oil has a tremendous amount of benefits as well, but we'll talk primarily about Boswellia extract today. There's an enzyme in the body, a pathway, and these certain pathways all have an effect on a variety of bad conditions and good conditions. The pathway in particular that is affected by Boswellia is called the 5-lux pathway, or the 5-lux enzyme. It's called 5-LOX, 5-lux. This is an inflammatory pathway. So if the pathway, the 5-lux pathway, is overexpressed, meaning it's a high elevated pathway, and that pathway makes compounds called leukotrienes, and if we have a very high level, abnormally high level of leukotrienes in the body, we have inflammation. And we have particularly high forms of inflammation from the high levels of 5-lux enzymes that affect the upper respiratory tract and the intestinal tract. It's an incredibly difficult pathway to treat. In fact, there is no drug today, no drug has been developed today that affects the 5-lux pathway. And it involves many chronic health conditions. Have you seen the advertisements for COPD where the elephant is sitting on the person's chest? Difficult to breathe. Have you seen advertisements for asthma or bronchitis or sinusitis or allergies? These are the conditions associated with a very high level of these compounds called leukotrienes. Nature works much, much better when it's in balance in our body. We don't want to have a low level of leukotrienes. We don't want a high level of leukotrienes. It's kind of like Goldilocks, just right. So we want just the right amount of the leukotrienes in our body. We want just the right balance of the 5-lux pathway. We don't want the pathway to be overexpressed, producing large quantities of leukotrienes, because that's when we're going to have a difficult time breathing. That's when we're going to have bronchitis. Remember, itis is inflammation. So bronchitis, sinusitis are all conditions of inflammatory processes. We want to reduce the inflammation. And while curcumin is a very powerful anti-inflammatory, and grapeseed extract is also a very powerful inflammatory compound, anti-inflammatory, it just happens that Boswellia works on the 5-lux, where grapeseed and curcumin primarily work on the COX-2 pathway. So the 5-lux is dramatically involved with upper respiratory tract conditions. Now, in the past, and even the current treatment today, the only conventional treatments for the 5-lux inflammatory disorders, like COPD, like bronchitis, asthma, sinusitis, are steroids. And steroids are not healthy. They may give us some relief and may make us better able to live with our conditions, but they themselves have a tremendous amount of side effects. You don't want to have a high level of steroids. They'll cause more damage to your body. And many people have had a lot of damage done to their body on steroids. So if you can possibly avoid steroids, that's great. So here's the situation. Maybe you're on steroids. Maybe you have COPD. Maybe you have bronchitis, sinusitis, asthma, allergies, and you're on steroids. Here's why we're here. Because here's some information on Boswellia that you might want to talk to your doctor. And maybe say, why don't we try Boswellia instead of the steroid? Or why don't we try them together? Take the steroid. You can take the steroid and the Boswellia. Boswellia does not cause any complications. And maybe you can lower the level of steroids, because high levels of steroids can cause excessive amount of edema. People have put on 40, 60 pounds of weight when taking steroids. Their face becomes what they call moon face, because their face is so out of shape, so round and so puffy, you can tell people who are on steroids. They also get humpback, where they get a large humped back, even starting from the back of the neck down. There's a lot of side effects with steroids. So if you can use something that will take the place of the steroids, or at least reduce the level of steroids, I think that would be a very good addition. Now, short-term and long-term usage is associated with many adverse health effects when you're taking steroids. Causes high blood pressure, suppressed immune system. You're more susceptible to cold and flu and all the immune problems. You can also have osteoporosis, stomach bleeding, weight gain. These are all side effects that are associated with taking steroids. There are no side effects when you take Boswellia. And Boswellia modulates. That means it balances the 5-lux pathway and brings the immune system back into a balance. Nature always seeks balance. You don't want too much, you don't want too little. It's like balancing your bank account. Just right. So the 5-lux enzyme, or the 5-lux pathway, generates inflammatory leukotrienes, which are associated with asthma, allergies, arthritis, and inflammatory bowel disease, like colitis, Crohn's disease, irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, and other compounds that interfere with the body's ability to kill cancer cells. In fact, there's some research at Baylor University where they have done a tremendous amount of research on curcumin, and particularly curcumin BCM95, which is the most highly absorbed form of curcumin. And it's the most natural form of curcumin because it contains curcumin and turmeric essential oil. No other curcumin in the world contains both combinations of curcumin and turmeric essential oil, which contains tumerones. Tumerones are very powerful, almost as powerful as curcumin. So you're getting a double powerful combination, like Batman and Robin, the dynamic duo. Prescription and OTC non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, which are commonly called NSAIDs, stop inflammation on the COX pathway, but do nothing for the 5-lux pathway. Boswellia does the 5-lux, curcumin does the COX-2. It would be ideal to take that combination together. And the research they found out at Baylor University is that when you combine Boswellia with curcumin. It makes curcumin far more effective than curcumin by itself. This is a very powerful combination. This is why asthma isn't treated with ibuprofen. And NSAIDs have a lot of adverse effects. In fact, 25% of individuals using NSAIDs experience some significant side or a significant type of side effect. And as many as 5% develop serious adverse events, serious health problems. So Boswellia can treat the respiratory tract illnesses. It opens up the pathways for breathing better, opens up airways, reduces bronchial and sinus swelling, and specific inhibitor of the 5-lux enzyme or the 5-lux pathway. 70% of asthma patients treated with Boswellia had improved lung function versus only 27% of participants in the control group. Very, very powerful for asthma, bronchitis. In fact, I ran into a lady at one of my lectures. I don't remember where I was anymore, but she was in the audience when I gave a lecture. And I was talking about Boswellia, as I am today. And she said, after the lecture, she came up and told me her story. She said, I had very, very difficult time breathing. So the doctor found that her oxygen capacity of her blood was in the 70s. It should be in the 90s for a woman. So eventually she was using an oxygen machine. She said, I hated that. I wanted to get off of it. So I found out about Boswellia. She said, I started taking a very high absorption Boswellia with the oxygen machine. My oxygen was 92. And she said, after I went on my Boswellia extract, it was up to 95. The doctor said, I'll take you off and see if you can stay there. And she has stayed there. So Boswellia has replaced her oxygen machine. Very, very powerful. So when you want to think about how do we make our lungs and our bronchi and our sinuses more healthy, we can do that in a number of ways. There's another very good combination. It's the number 2 selling combination of herbs in Germany for the upper respiratory tract, and even including children over the age of 3. They sell a combination of ivy and thyme. Ivy and thyme are very, very productive for the lungs. They help you expectorate. They're an expectorant. So that means they help cough up the excess phlegm and mucus. They do not stop the coughing. And let me explain why. You don't want to stop coughing if you're coughing. Coughing is a natural response by the body trying to expectorate the phlegm, the mucus, and the congestion. You want a more productive cough, not to stop the cough. So ivy and thyme improve a productive cough to get rid of the mucus and the phlegm and do not cause that hurtful coughing that some people have because it just gets so hard and so dry. So ivy and thyme make it so much easier to expectorate. They've done studies with ivy and thyme in thousands of people in Germany. They have used it for about 80 years, this combination. It comes in tablets, where you can take 1 or 2 tablets 3 times daily. And it also comes in liquid for those people that can't swallow. and it's really, really great for kids. They found that kids over 3 can very effectively use this combination of ivy and thyme. Anywhere from a teaspoon 3 or 4 times a day really has an effect on improving the quality of a cough or a cold. These types of herbs are very, very productive. And the body does not ever build up a resistance to them because herbs always change. Herbs never grow exactly the same, which is great because that's the way nature intended it to be. But when they make a synthetic drug or a synthetic antibiotic, something that's going to be the same over and over and over and over again, then the bacteria, then the viruses adjust to the drug. And then the drugs build up, or the body builds up a resistance to the drugs, and then the drugs no longer become effective. And that's what's happened with antibiotics. They no longer are effective anymore because the bacteria adapt to the situation and change in response like you do, I do. If you go to a different country, you adapt to that country. You learn the culture. You learn the language. You live the way they live. And that's what happens to the bacteria in our body. It adjusts to the environment. But with natural compounds like thyme and like myrtle and ravintsara and ivy, these are wonderful herbs for bronchial problems. They change slightly, just very minuscule. And it depends on the growing season. It depends on how much shade or how much sun the plants receive, how much rain or not rain the plant receives, the type of soil, the region of the world where the plants were grown. All have an effect on how that plant will change to adapt to the environment. So if you're having any kind of bronchial problems, the thing to do is really use natural botanical herbs, but you have to make sure that you buy the right ones. Because all plants aren't the same. Even though they may have the same name, they come from the same species, they are not the same. You and I are of the same species, but you and I are not alike. We're different. Why are we different? Because of the environment, where we grew up, where we got our start. The foods we eat, you eat, I eat. The way you live, I live. Everything changes. Our genes change. Our DNA changes. So we're not the same. Plants are not the same either. I got to pause. But I'm going to be back here for the next 30 minutes, so don't go anywhere. This is Terry Naturally. Terry Talks Nutrition. And welcome back. This is Terry Naturally with another edition of Terry Talks Nutrition. We're here for the next 30 minutes. We have a lot left of the program. We'll try to cover a lot for you. But if we miss anything, you can always go to my website, terrytalksnutrition.com, and there you can find all kinds of good information. In fact, you can listen to this program over and over and over again in the archive section of our radio shows. You can read all of our newsletters that have been archived in the e-newsletter section. And you can get your newsletter every Friday. Just subscribe to it, and we'll send out the newsletter for you to your email address. Now, we talked about herbs for the upper respiratory tract. Boswellia, number 1. So how do you pick a good Boswellia extract that has been studied for the upper respiratory tract? Well, first of all, look on the labels of your Boswellia extract to contain less than 5% beta-boswellic acid and at least 10% of the boswellic acid that's called AKBA. This is the most powerful compound in Boswellia. You want the right one. As I was saying at the end of the first 30 minutes, the first segment of the program, if the herbs all have the same name, aren't they all the same? Absolutely not. Herbs are not the same anymore than humans are the same. Humans all come from the same species. Plants may come from all the same species. But every plant that is grown depends on where it was grown, the soil it was grown on, how much water, how much sun, when was it harvested, how was it harvested, what solvents were used to extract it. That changes the phytochemical composition of the plant. And plants, when they are studied for a specific condition, that's the one I would want to use. So you have to look for a very specific concentration of these boswellic acids that will give you the most powerful effects for upper respiratory tract conditions. And Boswellia has no known side effects, none. Steroids have tremendous amount of side effects. If you had a choice, would you prefer steroids or Boswellia? And then you also can use this Boswellia in a combination of thyme, T-H-Y-M-E, thyme, the herb thyme, ravintsara, and myrtle, because these plants, these are oils extracted from the plants that also have a very powerful effect on the upper respiratory tract. Better than a steroid. Better than drugs. This is what you should be looking for in order to reduce your risk of side effects. All right, let's get on with another subject. How about getting dirty to stay healthy? This was an article that we picked up from the Wall Street Journal. Interesting, because we are too clean. We don't know what it is to get dirty. Well, the rates of infectious diseases have gone down, but rates for other chronic diseases have skyrocketed. Diabetes, asthma, ADHD, allergies, obesity, and more. More and more evidence suggests that bacteria in our gut is associated with the development of these diseases. At birth, our intestinal tract begins to be colonized by beneficial, healthy intestinal microflora, probiotics. A critical step in the development of a well-functioning immune system. 70 to 80% of our immune system is found in our gut. So what we put into our gut, food, beverages, whatever, drugs, are directly affecting our immune system. And without these good bacteria, the immune system becomes sloppy and ineffective at fighting off disease. I know mothers, they're constantly cleaning up their children. They've got alcohol rubs, alcohol liquids, going to grocery stores. We are overly cautious of bacteria. It doesn't hurt to let your kids get dirty. Let kids play in the sandbox. Let them play in the dirt. A growing brain needs stimulation to develop. Words, pictures, interactions, and others. And a growing immune system needs stimulation too, such as exposure to the environment, including helpful and also harmful bacteria, viruses, and fungi, in order to mature and provide lifelong protection. So kids need to get dirty. Kids need to play outside and touch and feel and taste, of course, within reason. But we can't always worry about kids and how dirty they get. We'd go fishing when we were kids. We'd put a worm on our hook, wipe our hands off on our shorts, and eat a sandwich. Now today, oh my God, you'd have to scour and sterilize their hands and wash it in alcohol, and you'll have the antibacterial soap. All these are even more damaging than the worm. Get dirty. A recent study found that as young as 3 months old, some babies had 4 specific microbes in their fecal matter that other babies lacked. The babies with those microbes were significantly less likely to develop asthma as they got older. Sometimes we need to get that bad bacteria to make us stronger, to make our immune system stronger, to make our body stronger. Sometimes you have to go against the grain in order to become stronger. Sometimes challenges, family challenges, business challenges, while if they're handled correctly, they make us stronger. They don't make us weaker. The same with bacteria. We need some of that bacteria to make us stronger. The bad bacteria. In animal models, mice given these same microbes had a reduction in airway inflammation, illustrating the connection between asthma and gut function. So what's in our gut makes a difference. Antibiotics. Currently now, they're not very effective anymore. And you should always proceed with care and use. And it might be better off if you use probiotics too, if you are using antibiotics. But remember, antibiotics don't kill anybody. Generally, their harm is very light. So doctors have overprescribed antibiotics because many things are caused by bacteria, of course. But sometimes our body will fight that bacteria if left alone. And also, too, it seems that if the doctor is giving you an antibiotic, the doctor is doing something. And that, to some people, is better than nothing. If the doctor tells you, oh, go home and don't worry about it. Oh, why did I pay for this call? I didn't even get an antibiotic. He didn't even take care of me. And doctors like to think, I'm doing something for you, so I've done my job. When neither was right. So we have overused antibiotics to the point now that we have created superbugs that have mutated from less harmful bugs because now they have learned to fight against antibiotics and they are no longer as effective as they were. In fact, many doctors, if you went to the doctor with a cold, more than likely a doctor would give you an antibiotic. But a cold is not caused by bacteria. And antibiotics work on bacteria only. Only 2% of colds are caused by bacteria. 98% are caused by viruses. And antibiotics don't work on viruses. So we have overly used antibiotics. And it's in our cattle, in our chickens, in our feed, it's everywhere. If we can find it in milk, because cows have been given so many antibiotics that it's now in the milk. The greatest threat to a diverse, healthy intestinal microflora, antibiotics, kills up all the good bacteria. And that's why we have candida. That's why we have thrush. That's why we have so many problems in the gut, because we have killed off all the good bacteria. Antibiotics are not smart bombs. They don't know what they're killing. They wipe out everything, the good and the bad. They wipe out the good bacteria and the bad bacteria. So they sterilize the gut. So what grows back faster? Right, the bad bacteria. Unless you seed it with the good bacteria, which are probiotics. Early use of antibiotics is linked to diabetes, obesity, asthma, allergies, autism, inflammatory bowel disease. We just plainly use too many drugs in this country. The United States represents 5% of the world's population. And in America, we consume 60% of all the drugs manufactured worldwide. 80% of all the pain-killing drugs manufactured worldwide is consumed in America. And 85% of all the drugs manufactured to treat children with ADD and ADHD are consumed in America. We use medication for everything. Everything from a hangnail to toe fungus. Everything has to be treated with drugs. And since the drug companies now have the approval to advertise directly to the consumer starts demanding more drugs and more drugs and more drugs. They have taken drug therapy out of the hands of the doctor, and it's controlled by the drug companies. Why? Money, money, money. Not because they care about you, not because they're interested in changing the health of America. Money. Shareholders' interest. And we have all these drugs in America. No other country in the world uses drugs like we do. No drug anywhere in the country in the world may advertise directly to the consumer, only directly to the doctor. So antibiotics, drugs are overused. In antibiotics, one study found that using antibiotics 5 times or more were associated with a 50% increase in the risk of diabetes. And antibiotics don't work for viral infections, like the common cold, or ear infections. And it's so common, it's just like, it's like candy. They hand it out for no reason. So how do you build a diverse gut microflora? Well, provide the right raw materials to your gut, first of all. Diversify your food intake. 75% of the world's food comes from just 12 plant species and 5 animal species. Give young children more than rice. How about oats, barley, quinoa, lentils, beans, sweet potatoes, whole grains? Older children can have fermented foods, including yogurt and kefir. Fiber. If you get enough fiber, you don't even need to use probiotics, because fiber will feed the good bacteria. If the good bacteria that's in your gut, if it's already in your gut, and you feed it fiber, it'll grow faster. If not given enough fiber, you'll starve out the gut microbes, the probiotics. So starving out them can try to eat the mucosal lining of the intestinal wall, triggering inflammation and disease. You have to feed them. People wonder, why do we have colon cancer? One is because we lack probiotics. We lack fiber. Because fiber feeds the probiotics. Enough fiber, you'll have enough probiotics. You'll have enough microflora. You'll have enough microbes in the gut. Fiber supplements in obese people have been shown to shift the makeup of the intestinal flora to a pattern that matches the microflora of thin people. Interesting. So replenish good bacteria with a probiotic supplement. The one I think is the best supplement I've found is a combination of 3 strains of bacteria. Lactobacillus plantarum, Lactobacillus rhamnosus, and the Bifidobacteria bifidum. 3 really powerful strains of bacteria. Bifidobacterium bifidum, a very excellent form of bacteria, along with the other 2, are powerful to regrow, because you don't need dozens of strains. You need a few strains that are very, very hardy and are human strains. I've seen a lot of bacteria sold that is not even of human strains. I don't know where they get them, but they never have been found in a human. All right, we're getting close to the end of the hour, but we have a few more things to talk about before we leave you for the day. But I hope you're doing something every day. I'm going to remind you occasionally, because you have so much control over your health. You may not have thought that in the past, but it's really, really true. Scientifically, you control your health more than anyone else. No doctor, no professional, no nurse, no drug. Just everyday common sense. Your food is your best medicine. We have talked about different foods in this program. We talked about the other day, one of the subjects I talked about was nuts. How nuts can stop stroke and heart attacks better than a drug. So it's the food we need to eat to be healthy. Food is the number 1 medicine. And then how much activity do we get every day? How much garbage are we drinking? I hope you're not drinking city tap water, because fluorides are one of the most toxic cancer-causing chemicals. Someday I'll do a whole program on the damaging, cancer-causing side effects of the fluoride that's in the water you drink, and that they may use as a wash from your dentist, or fluoridated toothpaste. Go down to the health food store and get some really good quality toothpaste without fluorides. Fluorides is another one of those big scams, but it's making you sick. Fluorides make you sick. Fluorides will destroy 30% of your collagen, causing arthritis. Even from arthritis to wrinkles in your face. Because collagen keeps our body together, and fluorides destroy our collagen. And even the chemicals in our food. What are we doing about that? Are you trying to avoid chemicals? Well, watch your labels. In a recent survey, 75% of global respondents say they're worried about the long-term impact of artificial ingredients. The simple fact, don't eat them. Don't buy anything with artificial ingredients. The biggest concerns. 60% of respondents said artificial flavors, preservatives, and colors are the ingredients they want to avoid. Food manufacturers, you should listen. They don't want what you're putting out today with artificial flavors, preservatives, and colors. The Center for the Science and the Public Interest recommends staying away from artificial sweeteners, sucralose, saccharin, aspartame. They have many side effects. Daily consumption of artificially sweetened diet drinks was associated with a 36% greater risk for metabolic syndrome and a 67% increased risk of type 2 diabetes. What about all the soft drinks? Everybody thinks they're doing something really good for themselves by drinking diet soft drinks. You'd be better off drinking soft drinks with sugar. And I hate sugar. But there's nothing worse than aspartame, sucralose, and saccharin. Don't use anything that is artificially produced. Get rid of all the artificial sweeteners, the pink bags, the yellow bags. Don't use them. Food dyes, FD&C, ingredients, for example. FD&C red 40, partially hydrogenated oils, trans fatty acids. The most dangerous type of fat causes heart disease and cancer. And that's what they switched us to when they said fat was bad for us. Oh, saturated fat is bad for you. Here, eat this artificial fat. What? It's just crazy. They made a fat artificially. And they said that's better than natural fat. I think this world has gone upside down. Now, if you want a strong heart, then power up your heart with some polyphenols. What are polyphenols? Well, polyphenols are all the coloring you see in fruits and vegetables. The red, the purple, the orange. Like in curcumin, it's orange. Grapeseed could be green or purple. All these coloring that make up plants, leaves, and bark, and fruits and vegetables are called polyphenols. 43,000 men followed for 24 years. The health professionals followed up study. Researchers found that in total, these men experienced 4,000 strokes and 15 heart attacks. However, a link between polyphenol intake of anthocyanins and flavonoids was detected. Higher polyphenol intake was associated with 14% reduced risk of heart attack, 22% reduced risk of stroke, and that's why we should be eating fruits and vegetables. All the coloring of these fruits and plants can prevent disease. And more people today are eating less and less fruits and vegetables. Polyphenols are micronutrients, powerful antioxidant compounds that are found in fruits, including grapes, tea, cocoa, all these wonderful plants that we should be consuming in large quantities. Why are they good for you? Well, first of all, they're really good for your heart and your brain. Polyphenols prevent free radical damage to blood vessels, reducing inflammation, and keep abnormal blood clots from forming. Added bonus, polyphenols have been shown to block the activity of an enzyme needed by cancer cells to grow. Polyphenols block cancer growth, block the development and progression of cancer, and strokes, and heart attacks, and it all comes from eating your best fruits and vegetables. And then if you can't, then maybe take supplements of curcumin, grapeseed extract, tea, all these wonderful beverages and fruits and compounds that are loaded with polyphenols. Sometimes you look at the label. If you look at the label of the French grapeseed extract, it'll say 99% polyphenols. So if you're getting about 150 milligram capsule of grapeseed extract, and it says 99% polyphenols, that means almost 150 milligrams of polyphenols. We need about 1,000 milligrams a day of polyphenols to be at our peak optimal level of health. So try to get that from your food and your supplements. And with that, my friends, I'm all out of time for today. I'll be here again Sunday, 8 o'clock until 9 o'clock Central Standard Time. Join me 2 days a week now. Remember, this is Terry Talks Nutrition. I'm Terry Naturally. Food is your best medicine. Start making some big changes in your life. And say a prayer. God bless you.